All right. Hello, everybody. I am Drew Duncan. This is the Sync 57 Sports Show. A lot to get to. Obviously, we're going to be talking a little Baker Mayfield. We're going to be talking Chiefs, Raiders. That's going to be a topic of discussion. There is plenty to get to with there. Some other topics as well. All right. Let's not beat around the bush and get right to it. First thing is first. Raiders, Chiefs. Look. I try to come up with something clever to say to separate myself in some way or another to make it look like, my take on the Chris Jones situation. It's not going to happen. The bottom line is we all know that this is an absolutely horrendous call by the officials. Bears fans somewhere out there will remember one time Brian Urlacher literally getting a roughing the passer penalty because he, quote, flexed his muscles when he knocked down the quarterback. That was the justification for it. Now we're talking about 350-pound offensive lineman. Well, he put his weight on him. Now, I understand in real time it may be difficult to tell, but come on. First of all, it's not one of those situations where you look at that play and you should go, that's roughing the passer, because it's not. Secondly, once we slow it down, we can certainly tell that he has ripped the ball away from Derek Carr. At that point, that makes Derek Carr a defender. Then in addition, we could see Chris Jones put his hand down for one of two reasons. Either he's trying not to put all of his weight on him, or he's trying to stay upright so that way he can run with the football. Get some yards, score a touchdown. Regardless, he understands that he's got the ball in his possession at that point. So you can't rough a defender because he's not a passer at that point. He's just another player. Haven't we seen Brett Favre make tackles before? Okay, I know your opinion about Brett Favre off the field right now. I'm talking about on the field. Haven't we seen other quarterbacks when the ball gets picked off, John Elway, et cetera, Donovan McNabb, go after a guy and try and make a tackle? At that point, he becomes a defender. He is no longer an offensive player. And if he is a defender, then you cannot rough the passer. And we're not even talking about the same type of player that a Brady thing had. I said that was a bad call, but at least I justified it because of the way Tua got knocked around. At least that was a similar looking play. This was not even close to that. People want to talk conspiracies in the NFL. This right here gives them their ammunition. These types of things make it look like the NFL is rigged on some sort of weird level. Shannon Sharp will tell you different. Shout out Uncle Shay. He'll tell you different. He's played the game, of course. 3 Super Bowls. The fact of the matter is, if you want ammunition, if you want a reason to say that the NFL is rigged, we got to keep this thing close. Can't be letting the Chiefs get back into it now. Their offense will take care of it. That's fine. Shaving points, whatever you want to call it, man. If you want to believe the NFL is rigged, there you go. And I want to be mad at you for pointing that out. I would love to believe that that was just a bonehead call by the official. We need to discuss referees getting fired for making such blatantly bad calls. It's time to have this conversation. Okay, we've had the conversation about paying them so that way they train year-round. But now it's time to have the conversation of when you make a blatantly bad call such as this, from the guy who threw the flag to the guy who agreed to it to the guy who officially made the call, which is your head ref, because he puts the final stamp on it. Hey, man, what'd you see? All right. Anybody else see it? We're all agreed? All right, here's the call. Explain to me how 5 officials got together in a circle and all agreed and all saw the same damn thing. Didn't happen. Get real. We need to start talking about firing referees. You make calls like that, you're done. We don't need you in the game. Everybody makes mistakes. There's the human element. But that's just sad. And there's literally no excuse or justification for that bad of a roughing the passer play call. Literally at all. You can't find one. Don't tell me about his body weight. They put out the thing this morning. Well, his body weight, give me a break. He's 350 pounds, man. What in the hell is he supposed to do? He's 350 pounds. You think somebody who's 350 pounds charging full speed or with his body going a certain direction and everybody going in the same motion is all just supposed to be able to freeze frame, bro? What we are heading towards is, and I'm going to say this, man, does anybody think the flag football game coming up for the Pro Bowl this year seems a little ominous? Maybe we're getting a look into the future at something. It just feels like it's going that direction. Whew. Call me crazy, that's fine. I'm not saying it's an absolute, and I'm not saying it's going to happen tomorrow. But let's be honest, with calls like that, I mean, other than, hey, Tom, hey, Brady, come here, man. I'm in the backfield now. Would you please go down? That's about it. Other than that, that's what we're headed for. Or once a defender is back there alone, he can simply tap the quarterback. He's down now. Quarterbacks get the opportunity to run around, break away from tackles, make plays. They can operate with impunity, basically. I could not imagine being a defensive player in today's NFL. It has got to be the hardest job on planet Earth. Some of those pass interference calls that we saw, I get it. The defender's supposed to turn his head around, but for crying out loud, if he's got his hands up, and he's got a right to the ball too. Defenders have a right to the ball. It's literally in the rule book. Why don't we just take the wording out altogether and throw it away and say, you know what? The defense is just there so that way we can put guys on the field. It makes the game look interesting. It's what you might as well be saying at this point. It's very frustrating. We can't have good defense in the NFL anymore. At least that's what it feels like. There are good defenses. The Colts, the Broncos, they got good defenses. But also in those games, you have officials that are allowing them to play defense. We shouldn't let a couple of games dictate how we feel about the entire NFL. But man alive, when it's back to back to back, like I said, we saw it earlier with the Cleveland Browns in week 1 against the Carolina Panthers. That was a horrendous roughing the passer call. That's what gave the Browns the first down, and that's what took away an opportunity from Baker Mayfield to be able to take Carolina down and get a field goal and win the game. I'll tell you what, man. Absolutely unbelievable. Unbelievable. Or pardon me, they were already ahead at that point. Pardon me. It's what gave the Browns the opportunity to finish their drive. Pardon me. Get a little into it sometimes, is what it is. Everybody makes mistakes. Man. So that's on that. As far as the game itself goes, look, I still maintain my stance, even though I know that bad play call or bad call on Chris Jones by the officials probably did dictate the game in some way or another. Obviously, not giving at the bare minimum Mahomes an opportunity to score the ball. I still maintain Chiefs should have won that game by 50. Look, man, this is not college football. Okay, we do not have coaches that know each other very well and have played in the same conference and divisions together for years. And at the bare minimum, even with all the pieces changing, with players, etc., that know each other exceptionally well. We're not talking about that. Hackett has been with the Packers for how long, right? McDaniels has been over there with the New England Patriots for how long? And even if these guys are buddy-buddy or coaching on the same staff at some point, everybody's still got a different game plan. This is not college football, even then, at the bare minimum, to where, let's just say it is the case and they do know each other very well, then theoretically it should be a better defensive game than an offensive game. Obviously, some of the officiating dictates otherwise. Regardless, the point of what I'm saying is, because this isn't college football, this is the NFL where you truly separate yourself. And I know a lot of people are going to say, well, the margin for talent is a lot thinner. To that point, I will definitely agree. But to me, there's just no reason when all is said and done why Kansas City can't win that game by 50. Even with the bad calls and all that stuff going on, you win by 20. You know? You win by 2 or 3, scores, to me. Why? You're supposed to be the superior football team right now in a garbage AFC West. If memory serves me correctly, yeah, the Chargers are 3-2, but they haven't beaten anybody with a winning record, and that includes the Chiefs, who, by the way, Justin Herbert played with a bad, nasty injury towards the end of that football game, and they still almost won. But they haven't beaten anybody with a winning record. The Raiders are 1-4. Their only win is against Denver, and we have all seen that atrocity. And Denver is 2-3. They lost to the Colts, my man. Everybody was so jacked up on the AFC West this year, and I just haven't seen Kansas City really, truly separate themselves from the pack. That's what I was talking about yesterday when I said, look, man, if I'm Andy Reid, I'm telling these guys, ESPN ain't paying us to keep this thing close, bro. We go out there, we kick their ass, we win by 50. That's all there is to it. Care about entertainment value? I care about winning. It's the only thing that anybody respects is winning. And I've been saying it for years. The only stat that matters is what that scoreboard says. And if I'm Andy Reid, I want that scoreboard to read 40-0. I've talked about not leaving it in the hands of the officials. Unfortunately, sometimes referees can dictate a game. I think we partly saw that last night. It wasn't just the Chris Jones call, like I said. There were some horrible pass interference calls. They did nick Derek Carr with that. He threw the ball away, the intentional grounding call, which I thought was appropriate. It was an appropriate call. The way he just flicked it out there, it's just not what you're supposed to do. He's outside of the tackle box. Bro, he could have ran that thing if he really wanted to. He had yards in front of him. He chose not to. All right, let's just put that out there to begin with. I mean, honestly, if Derek Carr was smart in that situation, he probably gets a first down, if I'm being really serious about it. Secondly, no, that's not a forward pass, man. There's nobody there. That's not how it works. And if we're going to be talking nonsense with what we did with Chris Jones, then I guess we should just talk nonsense with Derek Carr, right? So, there's that, compadre. That was not an entertaining game, believe it or not. Just because it was close does not mean it was entertaining. There was some really bad stuff going on, and to be honest with you, it wasn't a game that I'll look back at the end of the year and go, that was a hell of a football game. Nah. Too much involvement from the refs. Kansas City not dominating the way that they should have. To me, that would have been entertaining. I'm not even a Chiefs fan. I'm a Broncos fan. To me, that would have been entertaining. Kansas City whoops the hell out of the Raiders. Because to be honest with you, if I had to pick another team in the AFC West that I would choose to root for, it'd be the Raiders. Like, I literally can't stand the Chiefs. And they did just enough to win that football game. They've got let's be honest, they had the best quarterback in the NFL. They probably had the best tight end in the NFL. Everybody wants to talk about Tyreek Hill. I wish they'd stop that. We're 5 weeks in now. All these reporters and interviewers want to ask him about Tyreek Hill. Leave it alone, bro. Okay? He's still putting up numbers. And they're still 4-1. And they still are the best right now in the AFC West. Nobody's dethroned them yet. It's just all there is to it. So I'm sick of hearing about Tyreek. I think if I am Patrick Mahomes, I am sitting guys down and going, look, man, we're not going to talk about Tyreek Hill today. It's just not going to happen. And Mahomes has handled it so good. You know, he talked about it, in that interview that we saw yesterday before the game started. He just said, look, man, it made me a better quarterback, have to go through my progressions. In other words, I can't just throw it up. I know Tyreek is going to be there. If I throw it to a spot, he can go and get it. He's been so good about that every single week. It's all they want to talk about. Shout out Mahomes, man, for just handling it like a G. Straight up boss. All right. Obviously, Davante Adams is going to get fined, probably suspended for a game or two. If anybody listened to me yesterday talk about Draymond and Jordan Poole or a couple days ago, different situation here. And look, man, Davante slamming his helmet down and all that stuff, to me, that's one thing. You're pissed off. You're supposed to have one of the better teams in the NFL. I saw an interview with Davante Adams where he was talking about Derek Carr being underrated and what the ultimate goal is and how they can get back on track. And Kansas City was their opportunity. Let's be honest. That game went their way in so many different ways. Unbelievable. And they still couldn't win the football game. Still couldn't win the football game. So slamming your helmet down, we saw it with Hemler, when Russ didn't hit him. I get it, man. You're pissed. Come on, man. Some camera guy. I mean, unless he said something that we don't know about. Now if he said something, hey, bro, equal opportunity employer, athlete or not, I don't care, man. You just, But for the moment, it just appears to me that he just rolled up, shoved dude, and so he'll get fined, suspended, unless something else weird comes out, which there's always a possibility that it will. That's why I don't jump the gun and call these guys evil and all this stuff. And I saw somebody in the comment section, what's up with Raiders wide receivers? Like, dude, come on, man. Like, it's not even the same situation, bro. You get out of here with that. Come on now. Be better. Be a lot better, as a matter of fact. All right. And I do mean that by the fans. Don't compare those two situations. That's a little disgusting. Come on. Moving on, Baker Mayfield. Carolina's in the same boat as Denver, man. You go out, you get a guy that a lot of people really believe got screwed by the Browns, including myself. Now your $40 million coach and Matt Rule has been fired. And now your quarterback, you said, you know what, we really got a guy. He's gone too now. Ankle sprain. Could be out for a few weeks. If you are the Carolina Panthers, you are in a real bad spot right now. And I think that while Baker is gone, they are going to have to assess whether or not they even want to worry about him next season. Won't this be the fifth-year option thing? Right? So technically, even though they've taken on his contract, isn't it only 1 year in Carolina, if I'm not mistaken? You could correct me if I'm wrong. But after this season, unless Baker does something that is, we're talking the miracle of miracles of coming back from this ankle thing and leading his team to, at the bare minimum, the NFC Championship game. Man, I got to tell you, he's a backup after this. He really is. I don't know how desperate anybody's going to be out there. I mean, is Atlanta satisfied with Marcus Mariota? Yeah. What about the Colts? What they did with Matt Ryan? Denver's locked in 4 years with Russ Wilson. there's a quarterback controversy brewing in Dallas, but for the time being, if things play out the way that, they've been going, Cooper Rush is going to be the guy, and Dallas is going to be another team that's going to have to figure it out with Dak. Even though Cooper Rush is playing mid-football. Point of what I'm saying is there anybody out there that's going to want or need Baker Mayfield as a starter? Aaron Rodgers is locked in for another year with Green Bay. I mean, really start to, go down and look at the list in the NFL. You think Tampa Bay is going to want him? Not as a starter. Even if Brady retires next year, they're not going to want him. Not playing like this, they're not. Not with an injury, they're not. And another one on top of that. So, Baker may be done, bro. I mean, that just might be it, man. We might be seeing the beginning of the end for Baker Mayfield. I've talked about Big 12 quarterbacks and, just being completely overrated, especially guys that come out of OU. I felt that Baker was going to be in that category. I really thought he did some things in Cleveland that nobody else could do. And I really felt like he made them a better football team. And I know a lot of people are going to say, well, we only had one winning season. How good were you before Baker showed up, man? Laughing stock of the NFL. Baker gets there. At least you command a little bit of respect. So I just really think that Baker has just been in some bad situations, maybe. The coaching that he's gone through in Cleveland. Matt Rule didn't do anything before Baker got to Carolina, so you could easily argue, if you wanted to, that, hey, man, it's just another bad coach. Or, like we talked about yesterday, you could say he's a coach killer. Hey, man, Baker's just getting all these guys fired. Every organization believes in him. They think he's a guy, whatever's going on. They want him to be it. So you could say he's a coach killer. You could also say he's injury prone. At this juncture, I really don't know that there's a future that's not backup for Baker. I think he is going to have to go somewhere and play his way up. And, it's not a bad thing. Bubby Brister backed up John Elway for a little while. And mind you, Bubby was a starter for Pittsburgh from the time he was a rookie. And they played against Denver in the playoffs. Denver came back. They were down, if I remember right, 20-0, I think, in that football game. Denver came back to win. And when Bubby was under Elway, he said, I learned more from playing behind John Elway than I ever did as a starter in this league. It's not a bad thing to go and play behind somebody who knows what the hell's going on. Patrick Mahomes didn't start right away. Don't tell me his success has nothing to do with Alex Smith, or at least at the bare minimum, sitting for a year behind Alex Smith and really studying the NFL. There's nothing wrong with that. Maybe Baker needs a reset, who knows? But at this point, he's a backup. And he's good enough to at least be that. Whether you want to believe it or not, he is. But now with this injury, it's just his value is just continuing to plummet. The way that he's playing, the Panthers aren't good. Rule has been fired. They're more than likely, you could probably look at it and say the season's over, bro. All this money that they're trapped in with Matt Rule, and what are you going to sign Baker Mayfield to? Even if you do want to go with him next year, what kind of deal are you really legitimately going to give him? You don't think Baker's not going to want a payday, especially with what's going on with Dak right now and that controversy? See how that plays out in Dallas. That, my friend, I'm telling you right now, is going to dictate. You think the Aaron Rodgers deal, you think the Russell Wilson deal, you think the Patrick Mahomes deal, you think those were explosive? You just gave Dak Prescott, a guy who's won what? One playoff game, over $100 million, and now he is riding the bench. The new quarterback is undefeated. I personally believe he's in a good situation, but hear me out. If he doesn't play a snap the rest of this season and he's able to keep that money, you don't think that that's not going to create real serious problems in terms of money for every organization in the NFL? If Jerry Jones wants to throw every other ball club a bone, he will put Dak Prescott back into that lineup and keep him there regardless of what is going on with Cooper Rush. He is going to override the football coach. If he wants to screw everybody and have everybody clamoring for money that doesn't deserve it, man, you want to talk about an explosion of paydays coming up, including Baker. Whew. Oh, you damn right. You damn right. All right. Guys, I am Drew Duncan. This has been the Sports Show. Again, just to kind of recap here, Kansas City, despite the officiating, still to me should have won that game by 2 or 3 touchdowns. Double digits at the bare minimum. Come on. You are the better football team. The Raiders aren't that good. I don't care about it being a division game. You could say the players know each other, but, man, that rivalry stuff, man, is anymore. It's for the fans, okay? It's not like what it used to be, years ago, even when I was growing up, when those guys legitimately hated each other. And even then, think about it, Neil Smith would play to the fans, right? So you've got new coaches all up and down that AFC West division this year. We're not talking about a situation where these guys play against each other year in and year out, okay? KC should have wiped the absolute floor with the Raiders. Just my humble opinion, despite the bad play or, bad calls by the officials. Davante Adams, he's probably going to be out for a game or two. Probably going to see a heavy fine. Again, I understand his frustration, but no. Obviously, horrible officiating in that football game, top to bottom. Most notably, the Chris Jones penalty. Just ridiculously sad. And again, we should seriously discuss, you're fired. You make a call like that, you're fired. That is an inexcusable call. There is not a single one of us walking around that don't work our jobs that if we did something that obnoxiously wrong, we wouldn't get fired for it. Come on now. Give me a break. And then, of course, Baker. Like I said, unless some miracle happens and they make it to the NFC Championship game, he's a backup next year. But keep an eye on that Dak Prescott thing, because I'm telling you what, that is going to dictate how money gets moved around in the NFL. I'll tell you that right now. This is why you need to be cautious with who you pay, man. All right. I am Drew Duncan. This is the 657 Sports Show. Take care of yourselves and stay safe.